Dave Janae will be our next speaker. And for the council members, if you didn't notice, there is a comment sheet in front of you from Mr. Janae. Hi, Dave.
Good evening. And you know, I wish I had been able to be here last week because I wanted an opportunity to greet Rob and Kevin. I hope you don't mind my impropriety in calling you by your first name, but I've gotten to know most everyone at this dais by their first name at one time or another as we venture into those areas that concern our citizens. I'm here as myself tonight. I'm not representing anyone. We'll be talking about some things later if I can stay through the council session. But I came back to ask about a promise unfulfilled. And perhaps when the chief is here later, you can readdress the issue. I've laid out my comments on the little two-piece memo that I provided you, but as I was coming home tonight, Sac PD officers in the south area, I'm not sure if it was in Robbie's districts or Bonnie's districts, were raiding a house near a park. You have the name of that park, and I could give you the address if you wanted it, but not on the public record.
Thank you.
There was good information that this was an armed bastion of parolees at large, absconded probationers, dope dealers, and thieves in the neighborhood. Whatever happened to the conditions that were placed on these people there not to congregate and engage in criminal enterprises together? I found it interesting that the Sacramento Bee did a rather in-depth look at a parolee and the problems that they face coming out of prison. What I found rather interesting about that piece is that it didn't include the rap sheet that you have on that piece of paper of the things that led this gentleman to his incarceration in state prison. Unfortunately, my neighborhood and I personally know parolees at large all too well. Sorry the picture isn't very well, but if I'd taken action and not been so concerned about being politically correct and following advice of the police officers working in our neighborhood, I wouldn't have the guilt of a raped 5-year-old girl in a state park in Washington State on my conscience. Lauren Antonio would be back in prison doing life. I've added some other comments about 2 other notorious parolees at large that we've had personal contact with in our neighborhood. And then some excerpts from a quote in the Sacramento Bee in February 28th, I think, specifically. They came from the chief. He says, I've thrown another log on the fire and asked them, speaking of the city attorney, to give me the opinion on parolees who are fugitives. Nahara said parolees figure frequently into violent crime. Frequently is an understatement. And the public's eyes could be helpful in locating them. For me, parolees are my #1 issue, and we want to attack that problem. The article goes on to indicate that the California Department of Corrections has no problem with wanted felons being placed on the police department's website or anywhere else for that matter. I'll just close by saying this. Before Mr. Jones and Mr. Yee left this council, we received a promise, Mayor Fargo, that this item was going to come back to this city council to honor the chief's request to put Sacramento's worst on the police department's website, and I'm now here begging you for an answer on behalf of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Janae. We'll ask our city manager to look into that and find out what the timing is. Not up on that issue right now.